Hello people, and welcome to part 2 of my story of Street Fighter. Today in this episode, I'll be going over the Street Fighter Alpha series, covering all 3 games, sharing some stories of that time while I was playing these amazing fighters. I hope you all will enjoy, and without further delay, let's roll with it. So let's kick things off with Alpha 1. The year was 1999. At the time, PlayStation 1 was running the gaming scene. At the time also I was playing games like Tekken 3, Soul Blade, X-Men vs Street Fighter, to name a few. My younger brother as well, he was already heavily into video games. He loved his RPGs at the time, and obviously between me and my dad, because we love fighting games, he had to play them. He had no choice. But yeah, also at the time as well, I was in secondary school, going between year 8 and year 9, and I was watching Cartoon Network a lot, specifically for the purpose of watching Dragon Ball Z, which to this day is my favourite anime series, and that's an episode within itself that hopefully one day I'll be able to cover. But going into what this whole video is about, and talking about Street Fighter Alpha, when my dad initially got it and upon initially playing it, I was somewhat disappointed with it. One of the key reasons why I felt it was a tone down from games that other Capcom games that I was playing at the time, like X-Men vs Street Fighter, because X-Men vs Street Fighter was so over the top, with you doing Shinkawaduku beams, not fireballs, but beams, much like Goku's Kamehameha wave. It seemed like it just made me feel like meh. So yeah, at the time I didn't like it so much, but as time passed, it was something that I did grow to appreciate. Not just for the originally the art style, how much it differed, and it was looks wise, it looked a lot better than Street Fighter 2. But also the additional characters that it had as well, like Rose, Adon, Birdie, to name a few. And yeah, so as time grew on, I did grow to like the game. But let's fast forward a couple of months, and my pops got Alpha 2 around about spring 99, and already when from initially playing that, off the bat it was a much better game than the first one, and with the additional characters that was previously such a ball ache to do in the first one. I wasn't even aware until after playing number 2 that on the first one that you could play as Akuma and Dan Hibiki, but they were there in the already ready to play, no hassle in Alpha 2, and it was the first time playing as Akuma outside of the X-Men vs Street Fighter game. And Akuma was OP in X-Men vs Street Fighter, and he was OP in Street Fighter Alpha 2, although balanced, but yeah, it was still over the top. His Dragon Uppercuts, Hurricane Kicks, and Raging Demon, which I'll go into more detail, from when I first experienced that. Explain that more later on in this here video. But yeah, the one thing as well that I particularly enjoyed about Alpha 2 was the custom combo system. It was being the first implementation in this series, and the fact that you could mix normals with special moves to create your own essential super move was a really cool feature. It was almost like Bruce Lee's just going all out mode, man. So yeah, it was really cool. I remember at the time as well that we got this magazine. I think, off the top of my head, I don't think it was a dedicated magazine, because I remember in the same magazine as well that it showed a concept art of the Game Boy Advance, and I remember seeing in the picture in the middle, it showed Driver, but with on like a screenshot of Driver with a concept of the Game Boy Advance handheld. It looked similar to the first model Game Boy Advance, but it was a little bit different, just slightly. And on this particular magazine, yeah, I think it was a Games Master magazine. Don't quote me 100%. Memory is a bit fuzzy going this far back, but specifically with this particular magazine, it had a preview of Street Fighter Alpha 3, and looking at the screenshots, reading about some of its additional features, it got me really excited. My dad was already really excited about it as well, from reading the article. Also, my brother wasn't really too fussed about it, but yeah, me and my dad were really, really excited about it. Eventually, upon its release, my dad got it, and yeah, it was so much more than what I was expecting. The game was just completely blew me away with like the World Tour mode, how you can build and develop your own character. Obviously your own Street Fighter character, but you can level them up, increase their stats, so you can make them really defensive or heavy, like attack powered. You can level up the ISM gauge, which was again another really cool feature. Essentially, you had 3 fighting styles per character. You had the Xism, which was more like the traditional, like Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo style. You had the Aism, which was like the Alpha, and then the Vism, which was like the Alpha 2 custom combat gauge. Although it's slightly different, instead of charging forward, you would just you obviously you'd have free movement, but you'd have 2 hits. And there was 3 levels to it. You had one where the sets of like after images was close together, so the multiple hits would come quicker, and then each additional one would be further spread apart. You did the 2 hards, hard punch and hard kick. It would be like really spread apart, but it could create some really cool mix-ups if you use that. So yeah, I mean that as well. I'm seeing one of the additional cool features as well was like the dramatic battle mode as well, where you could fight. You and a friend could cooperatively run through like a small arcade mode and fight a character. And it was really cool because it was like between me and my dad and my brother, we really like reenacting the Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, where you and Ken fight against Bison, and you fight against Super Bison in Alpha 3, and he's got some next level Psycho Crusher that literally covers the entire screen. Your only option is to block, and even then that sucks out so much life. But it was because of this Street Fighter 2 animated movie and that dramatic battle mode that really got us like really into this game and gave us another link of connection to this game as well. Yeah, the game was just really, really enjoyable. And round about this time as well, it was at secondary school. I met one of my closest friends, still to this date, and it was one occasion when he was coming round after school, and he came round mine afterwards to play some Alpha 3, and he was playing it, and he goes, "Oh, you heard of the Raging Demon technique?" And I was like, "Who does that technique? What technique is the Raging Demon?" He's like, "Well, you never heard of the Raging Demon technique? You never heard of it?" I'm like, "No, I never heard of it." And he explained to me it's Akuma's like level 3 super move, where you press light punch, light kick, forward, hard punch, and Akuma would charge forward, grip the opponent, and the screen would go black, and it would just be flashes of hit sparks. And if the move is executed when the life is low, or it takes enough life that it kills them, like a splash screen will come up with the Akuma's symbol on the back, which is the destruction. It's a kanji with the symbol of destruction. And I remember he showed that to me for the first time, and my jaw dropped to the floor. Never seen anything like it. I was like, what? Anyways, I learned it, and took a bit of practice, but I learned it, and yeah, I became so proficient at it. At the time when I did, we had this like sort of like midday kind of like school club that my our science teacher, Mr. Barley, used to do, and me and a few school friends would go up, and yeah, you'd have the Dreamcast up there. Also, would have the PlayStation up there as well, and we'd just play a bunch of games on it. And this particular story, put in Alpha 3, just to show off what I could do. And I remember I beating everybody with a Raging Demon, and just to show off the splash screen and just show how proficient I was at doing it. And I got some sour faces, man. I got some sour faces. People weren't happy with me at all, man. Looking back though, Alpha 3 is and will always remain probably my favourite Street Fighter game, still to this day. Probably that, and then Third Strike going down. But yeah, in terms of the series wise, yeah, Alpha 3 is definitely up there as my favourite. And I would say because there's so many different versions that have different features, like additional characters that aren't in sort of the previous iterations on other platforms, I'd say my favourite two versions of Alpha 3 is probably the Dreamcast version and the PSP version. I would, if Capcom, if you're hearing this, re-release the PSP version as a console version, 1 player, 2 player, because you got one random character in there. You got Maki, you got Ignis in there. Yeah, man, you need to make that happen. But in my opinion, yeah, those two are the best. The best versions. If I had to recommend what version of Alpha 3 you need to play, either the Dreamcast version or the PSP version. Those two are the best versions. The PlayStation is still good and still very enjoyable, but in terms of features, it's a very toned down version versus those two. Those two are pretty much arcade perfect, and also the features that they include are so vast, and the replayability of those additional modes is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, to bring this to a close, in the next video I'm going to go over the EX series, and again, that's a series that I hold, again, one of my favourites, but still not as good as Alpha 3, but I really love this series as well, for specific reasons, which I will go over in the next video. I hope that you all have enjoyed watching this video, and if you want to see more, subscribe, like, share it, you know what to do. But yeah, man, much love to everybody for watching, and yeah, just everyone take time and bless. Till the next video.